There are few things exclusively iconic to only one city. The yellow taxi cabs, the subway system with the largest number of rapid transit stations, and probably the best method to get around. It also has a very distinguished commercial intersection, sometimes referred to as the crossroads of the world. Yes, it's Times Square and the city is New York. Although if you walk around the city for more than 5 minutes, you will inevitably notice another characteristic: the abundance of food trucks and carts on every single corner. They're so familiar that New Yorkers have the tendency to look past them without even registering their existence, unless they're hungry or they work for the health department. Street food has been a part of America's dining habits since the late 17th century. Here's a hot dog commercial from the 50s.
Some added tang might please you too. I'll slide into an oven fresh
Here's
bun.
another one from the 60s. That's a picture of a hot dog stand from 1908 and two famous people eating hot dogs in 1954. Here's a girl I met on the subway 2 months ago. And those are Belgian tourists. They noticed me filming, but they're also eating hot dogs. See that woman? That's Annie. She's having a hot dog in a bun. She just came out of a museum with her family and wants a hot meal. And thankfully, Elizabeth Rossi is there to serve one. She operates a hot dog stand in front of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, one of the more lucrative spots in Manhattan to sell hot dogs. And here's why.
Onions and one pretzel. In the summer, on a good day, 200-300 hot dogs.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a lot. It's a lot, but we're in front of the museum, so on a really, really busy day, they might see like 20,000 people.
There's a large number of people every day visiting the museum, and food carts thus have become a subject of controversy. It got way worse 10 years ago when Elizabeth's dad found a 19th century law that allowed disabled veterans to work and operate on the park's property without paying the costly permit fees. The city loses $500,000 a year in vending rights. Yet Mr. Rossi has held his ground, and that has inevitably prepared the way for other veterans or food truck owners who wishes to use this law as a loophole in the system.
And then that opened the door for all of these veterans. The only reason these people have permits is because of my dad and me. But then instead of being grateful that they're in business, they turn around and try to screw us over and brought all their carts. And they're not legal. They're still not legal because it has to be a veteran operating the cart.
And there's even an entire scheme for that. It's called Rent a Vet, in which the cart owner pays the disabled veteran to remain near the cart, so that when the law enforcement approaches, the disabled veteran shows his specialized license that proves that he and essentially the whole mobile food cart vendor is permitted to work in the area.
Without camera, please.
okay, I'll just record.
Okay, I work in here like 5 hours, 6 hours, and helping somebody else in Queens got some construction in the house, but painted all. I can, the ladder. I can go up for later. Profit? No, I'm not owner. I'm not owner, but the owner is cousin.
Increase the licenses and permits.
Oh yeah.
So can I ask you some questions about that?
I don't know about that because I'm only employee. My boss is gonna pick up.
It didn't take long before I was personally able to collaborate Elizabeth's story and the concerns expressed by city officials that the large number of food cart owners are abusing a law that was meant to protect disabled veterans.
I'm just making this up. If I own the cart and I have an employee on the cart and they get the ticket, technically I'm supposed to be held responsible, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm not there, how could I be held responsible? I didn't know they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, so they beat all the tickets.
Oh,
Yeah, so plus when I was at the health department one day, they told me that they changed their names. A lot of people go and they just change like the spelling of their name.
Yeah.
And so all those millions of dollars worth of tickets just get wiped away because they can never find the person. I mean, a few years ago, they had people coming from Egypt. They caught them with counterfeit permits. How are you making that sticker? I mean, I guess it's not that hard, but you know, it's amazing how many fake permits there probably are out there in the city. And here we are, I own one and my dad owns one, and we're trying to do business and they're making it difficult for us instead of trying to weed out the people with the counterfeit
How
permits.
long does it take to obtain a permit? Because
Well,
that's a long
the
process.
thing. It was a long process for me, so we had to go to court. My dad has had his for 30 some odd years, but that's from the original company he started when he just built the carts. Mine I've had for probably about 6 years now, but unfortunately, veterans are supposed to have access to permits. Like if you apply, you're supposed to immediately get it, and they weren't doing that. So I actually had to go into court. I didn't sue, but you have to like file something with the court to have them enforce the law. So I got mine that way, and then that opened the door for all of these veterans. The only reason these people have permits is because of my dad and me.
Possibly the most infamous food truck license case in the recent history involves Cinnamon Snail Food Truck. I met Adam Sobel, the owner, at his kitchen, and we talked about licenses, permits, and the difficulty to obtain them.
I'm Adam Sobel! From the Cinnamon Snail Food Truck.
Adam did struggle to explain.
Did you encounter a difficulty when you tried to obtain the license?
New York City has this super complicated licensing process. It takes 3 months to obtain the license that the city requires you to have, and because there's kind of this war against street vendors, and if they come on the truck to inspect you and anyone doesn't have this license, they get, you know, taken away in handcuffs sometimes, and you get hit with like $1,000 fines, and so it's really important that everybody goes through this pain in the butt process to get this license.
The license Adam is talking about is called Mobile Food Vendor's Personal License. It depends on whom you ask. Some say it's hard, some say it's difficult to obtain. Elizabeth went to court to get hers. It's not clear how hard it is to obtain one, yet. If you happen to work in the franchise, it's somehow easier.
Did you had to go through a rigorous process to obtain your license?
No, because I'm just an employee for this company.
But you still had to obtain the license, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't hard to get a food license.
Okay.
License. So, like all you have to do is go down to 40 Broadway, sign up for a class, take it, and then pass the test. And then
They give you, like, you have to have a license too. I have a license. You have to go to school for that.
Oh!
Yeah, it's not easy.
However, more often than not, franchise owners did not want to share the process they went through to obtain the license.
I don't want to be on camera.
Regardless of the length of the process, it would be still much easier to obtain the license than permit. In fact, no one has been able to obtain the permit legally in the last few years. Here's David Rogers explaining how much a license in the black market costs.
Currently we are not operating though. We lost our license back in 2016, so I'm not out on the streets. I know at least a bunch of food trucks who had issues in obtaining licenses and renewing them. The city is very unfriendly to food truck owners. You need commercial plates and expensive insurance. Full year unrestricted permit, $20,000 on the street, while the official fee is $200.
I possibly get a legal permit. That's why we're asking the city council to review this, to raise the cap and issue more permits so people could actually come out and vend legally.
Collecting signatures for a petition to tell the mayor's office, tell city council that you support, the idea of increasing the number of permits. Would you mind signing up?
The vacuum of legally obtainable permits was quickly filled by those offered in the black market, but not all were willing to buy them.
So I did want to start my own food truck, but permits are only available to licensed food truck vendors that are on the food cart wait list. I've been waiting around 6 months, and if I did get it, it would expire in 2 years' time. Licenses through the black market are about 900% more expensive.
Not just that, it is also a criminal offense to use someone else's license. Unfortunately, there are very few who are aware.
Are you aware that there's a black market to obtain a license and permit to run a food truck?
No, I'm not aware of anything about that.
No.
No.
A black
market?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
No, but now that you tell me, I'm not that surprised. It makes sense.
How so?
Well, because, I mean, I'm guessing that it's sort of like, if you're going into food truck, most food trucks are probably coming from places with less capital, and so there's probably a fair bit of competition to get what licenses there are. I don't know.
Are you aware that there's a black market to obtain a license and permit for a food truck owner?
I think I've heard that before, but I haven't thought about it in a long time.
I'm not. Now I am.
I didn't know that.
I don't.
Not at all?
No.
Not really.
No.
Not really, no.
I'm not. I was not aware.
No.
No, but I'm not surprised.
Why not?
I feel like there's a black market for everything.
New Yorkers do embrace the food truck.
Is a lobster roll $14.97? Nothing.
I feel like it's more of the city that doesn't embrace us. They don't realize that we are providing so many jobs for everybody. You know, not only that, we do provide a service. The city does obviously need to step in and obviously give a lot of our, you know, food truck owners their own permits. Okay, you have your employees, you're supporting them, you're trying to support yourself, but at the end of the day, you could get 2 tickets and there's your whole profit for the day maybe, or, you know, most of your profit, you know, so it's like you're paying a double rent, technically. When Hurricane Sandy hit, you know, it was a devastated, you know, few weeks for everybody. You know, they, you know, if it wasn't for our food trucks serving a lot of people in the areas that got hit very hard, like the Rockaways and, you know, some parts of Jersey and some other places in Manhattan that were really, really devastated from Hurricane Sandy, you know, these people were basically crying at our trucks, and I felt so bad for them, you know. So there's a lot of pros and cons to our food trucks. Obviously, you know, some people look down upon us on the streets. So it's a very weird balance these days on the streets. It's not what it used to be at all, obviously.
So I did just that. I went out on the streets and asked New Yorkers what they thought of street food and street food vendors.
They have good food.
Fast, it's easy, and it's like really good.
It's like you can get food like all from different countries. Like.
You know, I gotta be honest with you. They eat in the street because they are lazy. They don't wanna cook in the house. I am lazy too. I mean, some people are very busy because they go to school, you know, they go to work, they do different stuff, you know.
I have to say the diversity of like the cultures here. You have like so many different people like of different backgrounds over here in New York City, especially with like so many immigrants coming over and just like their children's children, and like after that it's just as they say, New York City is like a big melting pot, so you're definitely gonna have a variety of like cultures and a variety of food trucks for sure.
That's Eva. She's a food truck owner, and her dream has always been to run a food truck in New York.
Why New York and why food truck? Well, New York is definitely one of the most diverse places on the face of the universe, I feel. And there's no better way to actually start something than in New York City. If you have a dream and you're willing to work, I feel New York City is the best place ever.
You can't beat the food trucks. Like the background of the food and where it came from, you know what I mean?
As I scattered the city of New York interviewing food truck owners, I came to realize the more street food we have, the more it's embraced by every income group, the better the world we have. As the war on legislation invoked by the city officials continue, food truck owners and employees stay resilient and continue to share their love for food and feed the people of New York.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
While I can't do anything about the licenses, I hope I played my part in spreading the message.